Does that ever happen to you? Strike and sparks go everywhere, but nothing seems to light. At that point, you start getting frustrated. You start hurrying. You start making mistakes. And then you think that your ferro rod sucks. So then you throw it away. But it might not necessarily be your ferro rod. It might be you. And that's okay, because we all make mistakes and we're here to learn. So that's what this video is going to be. This video is going to talk about 7 common mistakes that you might be doing. So come on, let's talk about it and let's learn how to do it properly. First thing is your ferro rod success comes down to 3 things. It comes down to your fuel, and it comes down to the heat production, and then it comes down to placement. If one of those things are off, you're automatically going to fail. So just to clarify, the fuel is your tinder's ability to catch heat. The heat is how much energy you're actually creating via the sparks. And the placement is whether that heat hits where it needs to go. Every mistake that you see is going to break one of these 3 things. And your first mistake, 99% of the problem is just bad unprocessed tinder. Okay? You need to make sure that your tinder is fluffy and processed. You're shooting little itty bitty sparks into material, and in order to get to that burning or that pyrolysis, it needs to actually be able to take that spark and transfer it into enough heat to create a flame. We'll just take a little bit of this. So unprocessed tinder, you're not going to be able to catch that. But if you process this tinder out to its finest form, so it's good and fluffy, then it takes very minimal effort to go ahead and light it. Again, if it's thick and unprocessed, it holds, it spreads the heat out. But if it's fine, it captures that heat and holds it and is able to ignite via the small, finer fibers. So the point is if it's not fine, you're not ready. So if you're struggling, just take a few seconds to readdress your tinder. Mistake number 2 is that you're not building heat. Most people rely on one good spark, but that is just unrealistic. That's just relying on luck. Now, a few things that you can do for this is you can kind of do a fast stroking motion to produce a lot of sparks steadily, okay? Or if you have a soft ferro rod, you can shave little bits of your ferro rod into your tinder bundle. And this works especially well if it's cold or wet or damp. Shave a little bits of pieces, and then when you strike it, creates a little pop, 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 right? And so those little pieces will ignite within your tinder bundle. So if you have stubborn, wet, feel it to your face and you feel it's damp, it's wet, or it's just being extra stubborn, other than just flaking bits of your ferrocerium rod into your bundle, is to like 2-stroke the ferrocerium rod. So I'm going to come right onto the edge, and I'm going to pin it down. Then I'm going to take my scraper and just start short stroking it till we get some flamage. This look familiar? The next mistake number 3, is weak, wussy little strikes. Weak little light strikes like this is not going to get the job done. You need to fully commit, fully put some pressure in, and get some good sparks in. Now, I understand that some people, these little strikers are hard to handle, so I would get yourself something you can get a little bit more leverage on, like a survival knife. This survival knife is made right here in my shop. It's made specifically for survival and for ferro rod striking. It has a 90-degree spine. It must have a high 90-degree spine, and it has a little bevel on it. And with my hand right here, I can really lock in, apply some good pressure, and scrape some good sparks off. Okay, what you're trying to do is you're trying to scrape molten material off of your ferro rod. If you don't do that, then it's not going to work. So bottom line, the more pressure equals the more material that comes off equals more heat. You got to commit to the strike and not be such a wuss about it. Mistake number 4 is proper spark placement. You can shoot all the sparks you want, but if they don't land in the bundle or where you need them to, then it doesn't matter. So get close, almost touching, but we don't want to touch. And then I'm going to drive sparks into my material. So basically, it almost seems kind of duh to say, but it only works if you put the heat where it's supposed to go. So you got to be precise. The next mistake, and we're all guilty of it, whether you want to admit it or not, is that we destroy our tinder bundle while we're trying to get it lit. We're getting it struck. We're not doing much of any good, and we blow our bundles up. Okay, we bust our knuckles into our objects, what have you, right? If you're worried about that, either hold it up this way and push, or hold it this way and push down. It really doesn't matter. I prefer this way, but I'm going to hold my ferro rod over. I'm going to apply pressure, and then I'm going to pull back with my rod. Another technique that I mentioned before is you can lock your scraper on your bundle here, and then just like that. Or let's say you're hurt. Well, the point of it is that stability is what grows ignition. So if you're trying to shoot it and shit's going everywhere, it's not going to work. All right, you got to be able to maintain and control your system. The next mistake that most people make is just ignoring conditions. Right now, it's ideal conditions. It's not humid, it's dry, you got good tinder material, whatever, but being in a damp environment will definitely hamper your skill set if you don't practice. Your environment matters, because if things are wet, then you're going to have to introduce more heat, and you're going to have more heat in order to dry out your material in order to produce that flame, which means that you have to have more prep, which means you have to create ferro dust, and you're going to have to apply more pressure on your ferro rod because it's going to be wet too. If it's windy out, you're going to have to shield your fires. You have to pin down your material, maybe. And if it's cold, then you're going to have to protect from the cold. Remember, conduction, radiation, and reflection. All right. The point is that, one, you have to practice in all environments, in all conditions, because you can't fight the environment. You can't control it. The best you can do is adapt to it. And then the last mistake is rushing. Remember, you're in a survival situation. Maybe you're cold, right? And you're trying to get warm. So now you're panicking. You're in a panic state of mind. So your mind is not working properly. You're moving too fast. You're not thinking clearly. And nobody wants to admit that I'm panicking, right? Because we all want to be He-Man, tough guys, right? Guys, I've been in that situation. You need to take a second to humble yourself, take a breath, and just say, okay, calm down. I need to take some time and I need to process properly. I got to be disciplined. You can't skip steps. You can't skip the prep. You can't just start striking randomly, and you can't hope for the best. You got to have discipline, because at the end of the day, the ferro rod is going to perform the way that you tell it to. It's an inanimate object. It has no say in anything. It's going to do exactly what you tell it to do. It's going to do exactly the way that you perform. So if you go into the field not ready to perform, then you're going to fail. So your fire doesn't fail at that spark. It fails before you ever step foot out of your house. So with that being said, all's hope's not lost. I mean, go outside and practice it. Like, you can get a ferro rod for a few bucks at Walmart or Bass Pro or whatever. Go practice it. Practice in all conditions. Practice with all tinder material. Just practice. Because at the end of the day, your ferro rod isn't what sucks. It's you. And me. So get out there and practice.